The final act of our play, Meiboku Sendai Hagi, is set sometime after the events of the previous scene. The struggle for control of the Ashikaga house has come to a head, with the evil faction, led by Chief Retainer Nikki Danjo and Lord Yorikane's uncle Onitsura, on the verge of success in their plan to usurp power. In a desperate attempt to redress the balance and expose their evil, the loyal retainer Watanabe Gekizaemon is bringing his accusations against the evil faction to court. As the curtain opens, we find ourselves in a court of law. The scene is called Taiketsu no Ba, the confrontation. The large drums signal the hour. It is 2 o'clock and time for the court case to begin. Indeed, Judge Yamana is due to hear the case. The magistrate Yamana Sozen is played by Bando Hikosaburo. Are both the plaintiff and the accused ready? Call them in. Onitsura and Nikki Danjo, Watanabe Gekizaemon, enter at once. Both parties have presented themselves well. All who come to this court will be judged fairly according to the laws of the land. With regard to this suit, they have yet to reach a settlement, and he will today listen again to the arguments of both sides. They are to speak honestly, without deception. He, Onitsura, is here in support and will leave the chief retainer Danjo to answer all the questions. Geki excuses himself, but wasn't Judge Katsumoto also due to appear? He has other official duties today. For that reason, Judge Yamana will try the case alone. With authority vested in him by the shogun himself, he takes on this great office today. He will hear the plaintiff first. The elderly retainer Gekizaemon is played by Nakamura Karoku. As he has said previously, his suit concerns the dissipation of Lord Yorikane. He accuses those close to him of encouraging their lord in his dissolute ways, wearing clogs made from valuable incense wood and repeatedly visiting the city pleasure quarters. He was encouraged to spend a fortune buying out the contract of the courtesan Takao and was forced into retirement at his secondary mansion at Sodegaura. It is clear that their lord's downfall was all part of the evil scheme of Onitsura and Danjo. Geki begs that Judge Yamana examine the matter carefully. Danjo is played by Nakamura Kichiemon. He sees that Geki is talking, as always, about Lord Yorikane's dissipation. But as for their lord's visits to the pleasure quarters, and even his wearing of extravagant footwear, it is not as though he, as chief retainer, ordered it. And regarding his buying out of the courtesan Takao's contract, Danjo had no knowledge of this. As for those close to him encouraging their lord in his pleasure-seeking, it must have been someone else, for he knows nothing about it. No doubt this is all part of Geki's wicked plan to remove him as chief retainer. If he has any proof of his accusations, he should tell them what it is now. Danjo, restrain yourself. Does Geki have proof of his accusations? He does indeed have it here. This is a letter written by Danjo to Onitsura. Does Danjo have any recollection of sending this? He knows nothing about it. This is just part of Geki's scheme, and he hasn't the slightest recollection of writing that letter. Though he may protest his innocence, Danjo is guilty of conspiring together with Onitsura to poison young Lord Tsuruchiyo. Yamana must look into the matter carefully. Regarding his plot to poison the young lord, how does Danjo answer? He begs leave to explain. After their former lord Yorikane went into retirement at his Sodegaura mansion, his uncle Onitsura became Tsuruchiyo's guardian. For what reason would he want to poison the boy? Nothing could be further from his intentions. That is not true. An attempt to poison the boy was made by Danjo's own sister Yashio in their lord's mansion. This was discovered by his nurse Masaoka, who then managed to kill Yashio. That is the proof. And not only that, an evil spy named Kitota was made to confess that Yashio had instructed him to infiltrate the mansion. Geki begs Yamana to inspect this letter. Read it out. The letter is one addressed to Watanabe Gekizaemon from Nikki Danjo, thanking Geki for the gift of a box of dried sea slugs that are a famous delicacy of their province. He begs that Yamana ask Danjo if that letter was indeed written in his own hand. That is indeed a letter of thanks that he sent to Gekizaemon. Then it is in Danjo's own hand. If that is Danjo's own writing, then he has another letter. This letter reads, "As previously requested, he has recently been able to procure some poison and will mix it with medicine according to the secret letter he received about their plan. Addressed to the physician Oba Doeki and signed and sealed by Danjo." Does Danjo know this letter? He marvels at how closely it resembles his handwriting. It is, however, a complete forgery. It is not a fake. He asks that Yamana decide for himself by comparing the two letters side by side. Danjo understands well what Geki is trying to do, but he will not succeed in this attempt. His fake letter is mere rubbish. But that is a lie. Geki insists that this secret letter is certain proof of Danjo's guilt. That's enough, Geki. Trying to pass off the secret letter as by the same hand as the letter of thanks is surely part of Geki's scheme to bring down Onitsura and Danjo. The fake letter is inadmissible. It is as useless as waste paper. Has he any other proof? If not, he must rule against him. What a hateful brute for trying to deceive his betters. Suddenly, a voice cries out for them to wait. It's Geki's son, Minbu. What does he mean by rushing into court like that? Go back at once. Minbu excuses himself, but he comes with a secret letter just passed into his hands. One end is torn, but it reveals the evil plan of Danjo and Onitsura and should be taken as evidence. Minbu is played by Ichikawa Somegoro. He must read it out. Minbu reads the message sent to a certain priest with special powers, a request that he use every effort to place a curse upon Tsuruchiyo. But there is a vital part missing. The rest is torn off and there's no signature, but still it is certain proof. Geki begs that Yamana examine the letter thoroughly. But without a signature, what kind of proof can this be? It is inadmissible. That letter is quite useless. What is the magistrate doing? How can he burn evidence? What harm is there in burning useless paper? Has Geki any other evidence to present? If he has not, then Yamana must rule against him. It seems that Danjo will win this case. He must be pleased. Righteousness has been upheld by heaven. Now that his name is cleared, Onitsura must be satisfied as well. This is thanks to Judge Yamana's fine perception and wisdom. Geki must be regretting his actions and can wait for his just deserts. Danjo may leave. Geki must hand over that letter. Hand it over. Just then they are asked to wait again. The second magistrate, Katsumoto, rushes this way, apologizing for being so late. The role is taken by Kataoka Nizaemon. Geki has been insolent, but he is a country samurai and does not understand the etiquette of a court of law. They will forgive him this time, but he is to take more care in future. Yamana is surprised to see his colleague today. He was obliged to visit a shrine as an envoy today and is unexpectedly late. Katsumoto is new to this position and has rushed here for his own edification to hear his honor's judgment. Seeing Geki's insolent behavior from a distance, he called out loudly and apologizes for such rudeness. As Judge Katsumoto was so late today, Yamana explains that he has already passed judgment on his own. It is a great shame he could not be here. Which party is innocent? Which guilty? Though it was expected that Geki would win his suit, it was found that he presented false evidence against Danjo, and his wicked scheme has been foiled. Yamana has used his powers to see through the attempt and has found Geki and his men guilty of a great sin. Katsumoto is overjoyed to hear the sound judgment. So, Geki has been most insolent and has presented a forged document in order to fool his superiors. What a despicable man. Begging his pardon, but the letter he presented was certain proof, and yet Judge Yamana has just what? What is left of the letter, Geki begs Judge Katsumoto to be kind enough to look over. The signature at the end has been torn off, but it is still evidence. Silence. Once Judge Yamana has given his verdict on the case, it cannot be re-examined. How insolent he is to ask such a thing. He will be placed under house arrest for this. Katsumoto can well imagine the anxiety Danjo has suffered of late. He must be very happy at this outcome now. It is just as his honor says. But just for his own future reference, he has some questions he would like to put to Danjo, if he wouldn't mind. He will answer whatever questions to the best of his ability. It is only this. Regarding Lord Yorikane's addiction to wine and pleasure-seeking, and his frequent visits to the pleasure quarters, did Danjo have any knowledge of this? As he has testified already, Lord Yorikane concealed much from him, and he had no idea about his behavior. Enough. What does he mean by holding the office of chief retainer and yet claiming not to know of his lord's behavior? Even if he did not stay by his lord's side morning and evening, not knowing what his lord was up to shows the greatest neglect of duty. In forgetting his office, he forgets the path of loyalty. That is a grave sin. Despite Judge Katsumoto's words, what he did not know, he could not know. Yet his office was that of chief retainer, and Katsumoto has heard what great talent Danjo possesses. To say he was ignorant of his lord is merely foolish. But then, any fool would know this. What if, as a chief retainer, he were entrusted with one of the shogun's most precious objects? Say, for example, this fan. If this were a valuable object given to him to take care of, how would he safeguard it? If it were so important an object, he would place it in the treasury. Indeed, that is to be expected. But what if a thief managed to break in and steal the fan? What excuse would he make then? He would begin a thorough search for it straight away. If it could not be recovered, he would commit seppuku, disembowelment, by way of apology. Then upon the loss of the object entrusted to him, he would pay for it with his own life? Just as he says. He's sure? Then Danjo, listen well. He was chief retainer of the entire Ashikaga household, and it was part of his duties to protect his lord. Yorikane was lord of 54 districts and was a very precious individual put into Danjo's care. But Lord Yorikane's true nature was robbed. His mind was corrupted by his debauched lifestyle, so that day and night his dissipation became worse. For the chief retainer to say he knew nothing, that he was quite unaware of this behavior, is a disgrace. At the loss of a precious object, he claimed that seppuku would be the only course of action. How much more so is it in this case? Compared to any other case, even presenting false evidence, this shows a true neglect of duty. So why has he not paid for his negligence? Why has he not given up his life? You cannot judge people by appearances. Men are such fools. Katsumoto goes on to compare the present circumstances to an old children's fable. As everyone knows, tigers are the fiercest animals of the forest and command respect from all others. But one day, a cunning fox was caught by the tiger and about to be devoured, when, in order to save its own skin, the fox said that it was in fact the ruler of the forest and should not be killed. As proof of its words, the tiger was invited to follow the fox through the forest to see for itself. The tiger agreed, and, walking some paces behind the fox, noticed how all the other animals lowered their heads and cowered away in fear. The fox then said, "O tiger, do you not see the power and authority I command?" But the tiger was a stupid animal. It did not realize that all the others were actually running away from it, and that the fox's words were pure deception. Danjo is just the same as the fox, borrowing the authority of a tiger. Believing every word he says, though he lead them into a bottomless pit, the tigers still follow his orders. What abject fools tigers are. Yamana is bored with this long-winded lecture. He is sorry for speaking such tedious words before his honor. But Danjo is most fortunate that Judge Yamana did not put such questions to him himself. The case has been decided in his favor, and he must be very contented. He is indeed most fortunate. Now that Yorikane is in retirement, they wish to petition to have his son Tsuruchiyo succeed him as heir. Indeed, they would put forward such a petition. But the boy is still too young and must have a guardian. That is why they will petition for Yorikane's uncle Onitsura to be recognized as such. Katsumoto says he will approve it. He asks for the petition for Tsuruchiyo's succession, and for pen and ink to be given to Danjo to write it. The tallest tree is the most vulnerable to the wind. Like a tall tree, Tsuruchiyo's position is also high, but he, Onitsura, will be his guardian. Both Geki and Minbu predict what terrible calamities will follow now. They are helpless to stop it, and the evidence is as good as waste paper. A cruel fate has befallen them. Danjo is to seal it. Quickly seal it. Hand that over. He must not hesitate. Give it to him directly. Danjo confirms that this is in his own hand. It is indeed. They just witnessed him writing it before them. And this is his own seal. That is correct. Now they must investigate his wickedness. His wickedness? What does he mean? However much he tries to explain it away, the irrefutable proof is in this secret letter. Katsumoto reads the first part again, asking for a priest to make every effort in placing a curse upon young Lord Tsuruchiyo. He himself now supplies the missing section that was torn off. It speaks of making a straw doll as part of the curse and of burying it in the cellar beneath Tsuruchiyo's rooms in the mansion. He begs that this earnest request be granted, addressed to the Yamabushi priest, Kijakuin, signed and sealed by Nikki Danjo. On Katsumoto's way here, he was presented with the torn part of the letter. When he compares it to the section Geki presented earlier, he sees that both sections fit together perfectly. And the petition Danjo just wrote is the same handwriting and the same seal. Can he dare deny it now? But Katsumoto is being fooled by a forged document. A mere glance at it shows what a shallow scheme this is. Danjo begs that Katsumoto look again more closely at the seal he used on the petition just now, and that he compare it with the one on the secret letter. Silence. Though he has a man's face, he has the heart of a beast. He is the thief of their domain. In order to pass off this secret letter as a forgery, Danjo purposely altered the appearance of the seal he used just now. Taking one hair from his head, he placed it on the paper beneath the seal to make it seem broken. But Katsumoto has seen through this evil plan, and in his eyes, Danjo is a most heinous criminal. How does the villain answer? This is the shogun's court of law. Did he not make his seal look damaged? Will he admit this is not a forgery? Danjo begs that both he and Geki be tortured to have the truth exposed. He asks to be tortured. That is a most unusual request. Danjo is to raise his face. For one who would be a samurai, being tortured means the greatest dishonor. It would bring shame upon him. So, Danjo hopes that by torturing them, he will be cleared. But Geki is old. He is too frail to withstand the strain of torture, and so Danjo would survive the longest. What a clever scheme of Danjo's to win his case. He disguises his appearance with clever words, while in truth he is a criminal who seeks to usurp control of their domain. But Katsumoto has seen through his plot, and he will not get away with it. Danjo has repeatedly committed great evil and cannot escape the judgment of heaven. He must admit his guilt at once. Or should they torture him after all? Will he admit his guilt? That is as it should be. The great efforts by Geki and the others has had good effect. He is eternally grateful. Onitsura and all his group will not evade punishment. But Yamana decides to punish Danjo alone. Yet they conspired together. They will show this court's mercy. That is no more than he expected of so great a magistrate. He is filled with admiration. Remove Danjo's outer vest. Though they had fallen into the tiger's pit, Providence has rescued them. Justice has won out. And it is all thanks to Judge Katsumoto. Drag him away. He'll see to it that Tsuruchiyo's succession is approved. They are forever in his debt. Katsumoto has done well, and Yamana claims that he too is happy at this outcome. But it was all thanks to Yamana's wise judgment. He is most ashamed of his own efforts. As for that secret letter, my, but what a frightening scheme it was. The final scene is entitled Ninjo Noba, the attack in the guardroom. A group of guardsmen discuss the affair. After so long a time, today a settlement has at last been reached in the case of the Ashikaga succession. Though it seemed that Gekizaemon would lose, thanks to Judge Katsumoto, Banjo was found guilty, and all his fellow conspirators will surely, in due course, receive harsh sentences from Lord Hosokawa. It was worth it after all for Geki to suffer such hardships. At today's successful judgment, he must feel truly relieved. Voices suddenly call out that someone is running riot. They must be on guard. Offstage drums and flute play the music Hayamai, fast dance, to create a sense of urgency as Gekizaemon stumbles in, mortally wounded. In the following Tachimawari fight scene, the two characters perform a series of very famous and beautiful poses called mie. Minbu tells his father to give the death blow. At last, he will know the will of heaven. Clear away Danjo's corpse. Geki has done well. He has proven his loyalty, and they may give him medicine. Geki must take the medicine calmly. Lord Katsumoto has allowed him medicine, but he is bleeding and does not want to defile the bowl. Do not worry. Take the medicine. With so many faithful retainers in his service, Tsuruchiyo is indeed a lucky ruler. Just as he was about to lose his domain, what seemed like certain death was turned into glorious victory through the loyalty of his men. Tsuruchiyo will now succeed without further trouble to the lordship of the Ashikaga house. Geki is to take the document that approves this. He is more grateful than he can say. He must be very relieved. Tsuruchiyo's succession is all thanks to the kindness of Lord Katsumoto. He must take his leave. But wait. He cannot walk with such injuries. Bring in his palanquin. Katsumoto says he can ride in his palanquin. Geki is undeserving. He will go as he is. On the contrary, he is a fine samurai. With the evil faction defeated, Tsuruchiyo's house will prosper for all eternity. To celebrate, he should perform an auspicious dance. Katsumoto begins the No chant with the words, "With the power of a mighty bow." Geki, continue. The lyrics go on. Enemies in all directions will easily be crushed. He has cause to celebrate. Medetai, congratulations. Congratulations. This translation was written and narrated by Paul Griffith.